Ladies and gentlemen, Shabbat Shalom. Udo nke ụbọchị ezumike ọ bụrụ na ọ n'asụsụ Igbo. Or rather, let me speak in the language that more people understand. Peace of the day of rest, observed in the Igbo tradition on Ekeukwu and the Nkworu days in my part of the Hebrew Igbo federations. May the peace that come with this day of rest descend on you. Social media has its uses. A lot of times you see, for people like us with short fuses, you see a lot of nonsense. Sometimes you see valuable information. Like this morning, I saw our engineer Collins trying to lay down facts, because we have a growing population who need the facts. People like us with short fuses don't want to engage with time wasters. But not correcting mistakes will ultimately come and bite us if our earliest, I wouldn't call them, the appropriate thing to call people like Azikiwe, Michael Okpara, or Dimebgu Ojukwu, Emeka Ojukwu, I think the best language to use for them is the first generation of Igbos that encountered and dealt with the colonialists and missionaries. That's the proper way to look at them. I wouldn't call them our founding fathers. They are not our founding fathers. If there had been Igbos who had been more critical of the steps they took, our circumstances would not have turned out the way they did. There are a lot of costly mistakes made that we are trying to clean up today. So likewise, that I have a short fuse and concentrate on the major things, laying down the history of our people, and not having time for very confused people who fortunately don't get to address important people. They only operate on social media. It's a blessing that we have people like Josiah who are taking on people like this, telling them no. Even though you think that you've gained the world by confused Igbos, that Igbos had an empire 50 million years ago? Are you serious? No scholar in the world, when I talk about scholars, I mean people who are really scholars, not people who are operating on social media. I mean people who earned their degrees in relevant discipline. None of them has come out to say that there was a distinct human civilization that existed 9,000 years ago. And you are telling me that Igbos had an empire, had an emperor millions of years ago. There has been no evidence linking anything that is 2,000 years to this term, Igbo. In fact, there is no book that anybody can produce that is at least 100 years or 150 years with the term IGBO. It doesn't exist. And the people we call the Igbos today, I'm one of their leaders. We can say that as Okibiri, Ibiriache, and Ibirinta, that we have existed for not more than 1,500 years. And in Nigeria, maybe a little over 1,000 years. I'm not saying that our ancestors, that evidence cannot be found that our ancestors have been around for 3,000 years. Of course, our Israelite ancestors have been around for over 3,000 years, close to 4,000 years or more. Abraham existed about 3,800 to 5,000 years ago. But us as IGBO, maybe if you want to go beyond that, we have not found traces of anything on which IGBO is written 200 years, that is 200 years. If you want to go beyond that and say, okay, this is the number of years these people have existed in Nigeria. This is so simple. Look at your family lineages. My family is one of the old Igbo families. My family is one of the old Igbo families. I cannot count. If I'm to make a generation 100 years, I cannot count 8 persons between myself and the first person that formed my community, that formed my obodo. We migrated from Delta State. Give us another 200 years there. And that's that. The thing is that, unfortunately, a lot of our people are not informed. Obadiah Mailafia traced his people, the Hamitic people, to Egypt. And he did not say that they were older than the Egyptians. There is no scholar except the one Afon Asa, and you find them among the Igbos, who would say that outside Sumer and Babylon, that there are other human civilizations which we have found evidence that they are as old as Egypt. So I can't engage with these people, but they are doing harm. So I engage myself in very serious things, but also following them about, correcting their mistakes is important. And this is where you find people like Engineer Josiah Collins very useful. Because these mistakes they lay down have deceived a lot of our people. It has distracted and derailed a lot of our people. Their mother-in-chief came and claimed that the Igbos existed before human beings because she assumed that Adam meant a particular Israelite individual, and to gain attention, she went against that ancient Israelite, against that assumed Israelite called Adam by claiming that as Adam, that Igbos existed before Adam. She had no idea that in the context of the Hebrew Bible, that Adam is simply a reversal of the Igbo term Mado. So what she was essentially saying was that Igbos existed before Mado, that is human beings. And because Igbos lapped up the confusion, it derailed and distracted a lot of Igbos from examining Omenana. Because if you existed before Mado, you have to look for the culture of the people that existed Mado. But if she had not confused the Igbos and they had continued to work on their existence as Israelites, they would have found Israelite culture. The culture that has produced the only successful state in the Middle East. Are Igbos successful in Nigeria? No, Igbos are not successful. Igbos are the least successful Nigerians because Igbos have lost culture. The other groups in Nigeria stay in their homelands. Igbos are unable to stay in their homelands. And this is because the Igbo identity and culture were tampered with by the British. And Igbos are now helping the British by continuing to destroy themselves. So, Collins, even though I have a point I'm not happy about vis-a-vis yourself, the Igbos that are serious must constitute themselves into a congregation. The job does not end by following these guys about on social media, correcting their mistakes. The Igbos that are serious must come together and begin to operate as a religious congregation. Probably it is just these Igbos that will survive. And in the next 50 years, in the next 100 years, they will bear witness that there was an Igbo people. So, I am not happy that you don't attend the Omena and Defender Shabbat service. Because it is that Shabbat service that you will attend, then you will find like-minded people. People whose brains are gradually being reshaped so that Igbos will become a productive people again. Igbos are not productive today. Our ancestors discovered that cassava contains poison. Barrister Meka Maduewese, the founder of Igboville, challenged all Igbos about 15 years ago to tell anybody, to tell him what Igbos were able to invent since 100 years, since they left Omenana, as religion, because Igbos did not leave Omenana completely as religion, they retained it as culture. I mean, they did not leave Omenana completely, they retained it as culture. But people don't take culture as seriously as they take religion. So, if you want to attend the Shabbat service, go to my timeline. The link, the Zoom link for the tomorrow service is there. There is no going back.